Get ready with me while I talk about my shopping addiction. Ow, I just stabbed myself in the head. I'm almost positive that I manifested myself into a shopping addict because when I first started TikTok, my niche was shopping, but at the time my username was called Brooklyn, we go hard. Back when TikTok was first blowing up, I was getting so many views by making shopping content, and I loved shopping. So I basically enabled myself into shopping because I would tell myself like, oh, I'm gonna make content from it. So my weekly trips shopping that like I would normally do turned into daily shopping trips, and everybody knew me as like the girl with the hauls. One day I was sitting with Lewis, who is my baby daddy, and I was like, I need to change my screen name. And he was like, why don't you just call yourself Brooke the Shopaholic, because you're literally a shopaholic. And I was like, oh my god, that's a genius idea. So that is how I changed my screen name. Since I could literally remember, I've always loved shopping, and my biological mom, I didn't grow up with her, but I would see her on like summer breaks and stuff. And I remember when we would go visit, almost every single night, there was like a Goodwill down the street from her house, and she would ask my stepdad, she would be like, hey, can I have some money? I want to run to the Goodwill. And he'd give her like 30, 40 bucks, sometimes 100. And every single night she would go to the Goodwill. Sometimes I would go with her, sometimes I wouldn't. And she would just shop. It was like her form of therapy. She would just shop, and she would always find like the cutest stuff. And she would get so much for like how much money she spent, you know? She would do that every single night. And honestly, this is where I think my like addiction maybe kicked off, if you will, because growing up I lived with my dad, and financially he wasn't doing that great. So whenever we would go to the store and I would ask for something, he would say no, not because he didn't want to get it for me, but because like we genuinely couldn't afford it. But my dad did try everything that he could to like make me happy, because at the time there was a store called McFrugal's, and at McFrugal's, if you entered the coloring contest where you just literally like color a little picture, you could win a $25 gift card to McFrugal's. So my dad would take those coloring things, and he would go home and he would color them for us, and then he would submit them like under our names, and we would always win, me and my sister. So like every month we would get like a free gift card to McFrugal's for $25, and my dad would let me spend it on anything that I wanted, because that was like his way of giving me like toy money. So growing up into my teens, we still didn't have that much extra money. So we would go to the store and I would see shit that I wanted and I would ask for it, and my mom would say no. Again, not because she didn't want to get it for me, but because we probably couldn't afford it. And I remember being that kid that literally would have tantrums in the store. I would be like, ah! Like I would literally give my mom and dad the hardest time like begging for it, and they'd be like, no. And looking back, like, what a brat. Why did I do that? When I was 15, my older sister turned 16, and she got a job, and she got her first paycheck, and I think she bought stuff from Hot Topic, and I was so jealous. And I heard her talking in her room one night that her job was hiring. So I literally skipped school the next day. I went in to the pizza factory where she worked, and I asked for a job application, and I talked to the manager, and he literally gave me a job. And I was so freaking excited because having money meant I could go shopping. The first paycheck that I ever got was for $111. I went to Walmart, and the first thing that I ever bought with my paycheck was an entire bag of Starburst, and then I bought an entire jug of Mod Podge and a pair of white knockoff Vans, all at Walmart, because I wanted to eat all of the Starburst. They're still one of my favorite candies. And then I wanted to take all of the wrappers. I wanted to take all of the wrappers, and I wanted to Mod Podge them onto my shoes and be the only girl at school with Starbucks shoes. With Starbursts shoes. But ever since I was that age, I just remember having the mindset of like, I don't care how much it costs, I'm gonna get it because I'm gonna find a way to make the money. You know, like that just has always been my mindset. And I don't know if that's a good thing or if that's a bad thing. Feel free to roast my makeup in the comments, because I am not a makeup girly. I mean, I enjoy makeup a lot, and I put it on thinking I know what I'm doing, but I don't really know if it like looks good or whatever, and I don't really care because I tried. Ow. Let me know what else you guys want to know about my shopping journey, because if there's one thing that I've learned about this entire journey is that there's no point where you're gonna get and you're gonna be like, oh, this is finally not an addiction. It's more of like a marathon, you know? It's just trying to make the best decisions and trying to shop for the right reasons, and not because I'm bored, depressed, angry, happy, sad, you know, broke,